And this is what financial education and financial literacy really is. Again, it starts with a financial statement. And I would say probably 95% of all college graduates don't know what a financial statement is. But I say to young people like you, there's 6 basic words to financial literacy and financial education. And the 6 words again are income, expense, asset, liability. And the secret to being rich is not a college education, but can you control cash flow? You get a job, and this was my poor dad, go to school, get a job, get your PhD. Income comes in, and it goes out this way. First line of expense is tax. So this is a poor person's cash flow pattern. It's not how much money you make. Most people, I don't care if you have a PhD or no school at all, but they can't control the cash flowing out through their expenses. And so that's why people like Susie Orman say, cut up your credit cards, live below your means, because you're a spendaholic. So that's a poor person. This is a middle class person's cash flow pattern. And this is where the house comes in. First thing, most kids do when they get pay raise or that, they buy themselves a bigger house. Oh, my house is an asset. Now, who tells you that? Your real estate agent, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Because they want to give you this false sense of security while you're getting screwed.
Exactly.
But when you look at what happens with a house, a personal residence, something I live in, the money comes in and goes out, and this is middle class, but it also goes out through a mortgage payments. Oh, but I don't have a mortgage. You still have, but you have taxes and you have upkeep. So money's always flowing out. So that's why your house is not an asset, is because it's taking money from your pocket. So very simply said, assets put money in my pocket, liabilities take money from my pocket. So I'm not saying don't buy a house, but here is a house, and I started when I was 25, bought my first house, and it was an apartment, it was an investment property. I didn't live in it, I rented it out, and it put money in my pocket. So very simple, the definition of asset and liability is not the house or this, it's cash flow. Where is the cash flowing? So as a young person, and to all millennials or if you're old, financial intelligence is the ability to control cash flow. And that's what they don't teach you at school. They tell you to go to school, get a job. First thing is tax. You'll pay, most of your money will go out through taxes in your lifetime. And then they tell you to buy a house and a car. A car is an asset. No, a car is a liability. You got insurance, gas, upkeep, and all this. Now, if you buy a taxi car, it could be an asset. It's cash flow. So this is a poor person. Money goes out. There's a lot. We just interviewed some National Football League players who make millions of dollars in their 20s. And most of them are broke in 2 years because they can't control cash flow. Intelligence, IQ, is can you control cash flow? Not your college degree. College degrees are important, but they're not going to teach you this. So the cash flow game trains you over and over and over and over again to get your money in here to get cash flow this way. So I started with this. It cost me $18,000. I paid for the credit card and I put $25 in my pocket. Okay? It's an infinite return because the cash flow paid for the mortgage, it paid the expenses, pays the operating costs, and I still made $25. Kim's first deal was the same. Hers wasn't $18,000, it was $50,000, $45,000. And they put $25 in her pocket. But Kim now owns 6,500 rental properties, and she pays no tax because the income comes from here. If you have a job, you pay tax, but income, the rich get richer because when you have asset income, taxes are less. You can get it down to zero if you want. But that's financial intelligence, but can you control cash flow? Okay? So say it again, assets what?
Assets put money into your pocket, liabilities take money out of your pocket.
And so as a young person, you just focus on that. So when you're buying a new house, you gotta say, Is it going to take money or put money? You buy an apartment house, is it going to take money or put money? That's it. It's cash flow. Now, if I could bring up a more horrible subject, is do you think people can be assets or liabilities?
I think they could be both, to be honest.
So for most young people, they fall in love, they get married, they have kids. Is a child an asset or liability?
A child is definitely a liability.
Now, I'm not saying don't have kids, but you got to think the kid is expensive, and they don't get cheaper. They get more expensive every year. Then they go to college, and then it gets even more expensive. So a human being, and that sounds horrible to all the socialists and communists out there, but the fact is, kids cost money. But as an old guy, I want you to think about this. As I get older, as people get older, family members become liabilities. So I have a friend whose mother, thank God she had long-term, I don't know what they call it, but they just canceled it on her. She can go to old age home, and I think the price is $18,000 a month. If, as a young person, as your parents get older, the question is, can I afford to spend $20,000 a month on my mom or my dad's long-term health care? Statistics show the average person, like my generation, let's have $1 million. 80% of that $1 million will be gone the last 2 years of life because medical expenses go through the roof. Question about houses and people, but people are assets and liabilities. For most people with our favorite subject, a 401k is an asset or liability.
From what I've learned from you, it's definitely a liability.
Or an IRA or a pension, because it's always going out this way. There's no guarantee it'll be there. So this is the basic of financial intelligence, financial literacy, stuff like this. Another thing about people is you have a bad advisor, like a bad financial planner or a crook, or a business partner that's a crook, a wife that's a crook and all that. There could be human liabilities. I have 2 friends right now who just joined the $1 Million Club. They married beautiful women, got divorced, and the woman is now costing $1 million a year in alimony. So their beautiful wife and the child support, it's $1 million going. And she's only 40 years old, so she has a whole pile of boyfriends, but it's costing him $1 million a year for her boyfriend. Financial IQ is, can you control cash flow? IQ means how big a problem can you solve? So if, like my friend whose mother is now costing him $18,000 a month, well, thank God he has about $100,000 in savings, but in 1 year it's gone.
Yeah.
That's not high IQ. But for myself, $18,000 a month, I can go make that much cash flow pretty easily.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're like in your 20s, you're thinking, well, how am I going to make, let's say, by the time you're probably $100,000 a month to take care of my parents? Because like it or not, it's cash flow and they become liabilities. And the problem is getting worse because the bond markets are not providing income. So many insurance companies have to renege on their promises to provide the cash flow to take care of our loved ones. The same as medical.